The characteristic of elephant is it's got a huge body, so it requires a big reservoir of water to take bath. So it goes to a big reservoir of water, thoroughly cleanses itself, and then comes out of the reservoir. And when it comes to land, it takes some dirt or mud and sprinkles all over the body. So then what is the use of having taken that thorough bath? Again, as soon as it comes out, it actually becomes dirty. Similarly, people who commit sinful activities, even though they may atone for those sins, so they may be freed from the punishment in hell for the time being. But again they commit sinful activities. And again they become candidates for punishment. So, this is because even though atonement can actually nullify sinful reactions, it cannot change the tendency of a person in this material world to commit sinful activities. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj asks, what's the use of this atonement? Is there any better method than simply atoning for oneself? Shri says, yes. If one actually practices brahmacharya, cultivates knowledge, performs austerities, and then so many different things he says, tapasa brahmacharyena shamena cha damena cha tyagena satyashochabhyam, then there is a possibility that he becomes enlightened in transcendental knowledge, and then by enlightenment in transcendental knowledge, all his sinful reactions are wholesale burned away to ashes. Just like if there are weeds in a tiny field, in summer, when the weeds become very dry, then just lighting one of the weeds, the fire will burn to ashes completely all the weeds in that paddy field. But the roots remain. As soon as there is the next rain, the weeds will again grow. So, the jnana process, the karma process is that they perform sinful activities, they atone for the sins, but the sinful tendency doesn't go. So they may again commit sinful activities. The jnana process is that by enlightenment, they refrain from sinful activities because of the enlightenment. But there is no guarantee they may fall down again into the karma platform and they may again commit sinful activities under certain different circumstances. So, it is just like the karma process is compared to elephant bath, the jnana process is compared to the weeds being burnt away to ashes with the roots remaining, which will again, the weeds will grow as soon as there is favorable monsoon. When the dry season is over, summer is over, then the rainy season comes, again the weeds will grow. So it is not a foolproof system of completely eradicating all sins. Then Shukadeva Goswami says, but there is another process, the bhakti process. And the bhakti process, he says, not only destroys all sinful reactions, all sinful reactions, but bhakti also destroys the sinful tendency, completely purifies the heart of even sinful tendencies. And it is like Niharam iva bhaskaraha. When there is fog, and then the fog can remain only as long as the sun has not risen. As soon as a glimpse of the sunlight is there, immediately the fog is dissipated completely. Similarly, as long as one is not engaged in devotional service, there is a possibility the person may commit sinful activities. But even a glimpse of bhakti can completely eradicate the sinful reactions as well as the sinful tendency 100%, with no trace of anything sinful remaining. So, in this connection, Shukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, there is the history of one Ajamila, the famous history, which is cited by all learned transcendentalists. So now hear attentively about this Ajamila's story. In a city known as Kanyakubja, there was a Brahmana named Ajamila who married a prostitute maidservant and lost all his Brahmanical qualities because of the association of that low-class woman. Shukadeva Goswami has a way of narrating these incidents so that some suspense is also built up. See, he tells this story of Ajamila in the beginning to illustrate that principle of how bhakti works. Very briefly, he doesn't tell so many details. But the details are going to come later on. Okay? So, here he just tells that there was a Brahmana named Ajamila. He happened to unfortunately marry a prostitute maidservant, lost his Brahmanical qualities. And then the fallen Ajamila, after that, what did he do? Gave trouble to others by arresting them, cheating them in gambling, and directly plundering them. This is the way he earned his livelihood and maintained his wife and children. He thus spent his time in abominable sinful activities to maintain his family of many sons, and 88 years of his life passed away. That old man Ajamila had 10 sons, of whom the youngest was a baby named Narayana. Since Narayana was the youngest of all the sons, he was naturally very dear to both his father and mother. Because of the child's broken language and awkward movements, old Ajamila was very much attached to this child. He always took care of the child and enjoyed the child's activities. Now hear this carefully. When Ajamila chewed food and ate it, he called the child to chew and eat. When he drank, he called the child to drink also. Always engaged in taking care of the child and calling his name Narayana, Ajamila could not understand that his own time was now exhausted and that death was upon him. When the time of death arrived for the foolish Ajamila, he began thinking exclusively of his son Narayana. Ajamila then saw 3 awkward persons with deformed bodily features, very fierce looking with twisted faces, hair standing erect on their bodies. With ropes in their hands, they had come to take him away to the abode of Yamaraj. When he saw them, he was extremely bewildered. And because of his attachment to his child, who was playing a short distance away, Ajamila began to call him loudly by his name. Thus, with tears in his eyes, he some or other chanted the holy name of Narayana. As soon as he chanted the name of Narayana, the order carriers of Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, immediately arrived when they heard the holy name of their master from the mouth of the dying Ajamila. who had certainly chanted without offense because he chanted in complete anxiety, being totally helpless. The order carriers of Yamaraj were snatching the soul from the core of the heart of Ajamila, the husband of the prostitute. But with resounding voices, the messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnudutas, forbade them to do so. When the order carriers of Yamaraj were thus stopped by the Vishnudutas, they replied, "Who are you, sirs, that you have the audacity to challenge the jurisdiction of Yamaraj? Whose servants are you? Where have you come from? And why are you forbidding us to touch the body of Ajamila?" Then the order carriers of Yamaraj said, "Your eyes are just like petals of a lotus flower. You are dressed in beautiful yellow silken garments. You are decorated with garlands of lotuses. You are wearing very attractive crowns or helmets on your head. You have beautiful earrings on your ears. You all appear fresh and youthful. Your 4 long arms are decorated with bows and quivers of arrows. And you are also having swords, clubs, conches, discs, and lotus flowers. Your effulgence has dissipated the darkness of this place with extraordinary illumination. And why are you obstructing us?" So being thus addressed by the Yamadutas, the Vishnudutas smiled and spoke with deep sounding voice. They told the Yamadutas, "If you are actually servants of Yamaraj, you must explain to us the meaning of religious principles and the symptoms of irreligion. What is the process for punishing others? Who are the actual candidates for punishment?" These are the questions Vishnudutas asked the Yamadutas. So the Yamadutas replied, "That which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, the religious principles. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana and are self-born. This we have heard from our master Yamaraj. The sun, the fire, the air, demigods, the moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and Supersoul himself are all witnesses to the activities of the living entities. The candidates for punishment are those who are confirmed by these many witnesses to have deviated from their regulative principles. Everyone engaged in fruitive activities is actually suitable to be subjected to punishment according to their sinful actions." Now something very important that Yamadutas tell, which we have to understand very carefully. They say, "O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless, but those who are within this material world are all karmis," means they either act piously or impiously. Both kinds of actions are possible for them because they are contaminated by the 3 modes of material nature. And anybody who has accepted a material body cannot be inactive even for a moment. And under the modes of material nature, they are bound to commit some sinful activities. They cannot be sinless. Therefore, all living entities within this material world who are contaminated by the 3 gunas are punishable. So then they begin to describe why they are, trying to take away Ajamila to the abode of Yamaraj. They describe, in the beginning this Brahmana Ajamila studied all the Vedic literature. He was a reservoir of all good qualities. He had good conduct, a good character, firmly established in executing all the Vedic injunctions, as a proper Brahmana, he was very mild and gentle. He kept his mind and senses under control. He was truthful. He knew how to chant the Vedic mantras. He was also very pure. Ajamila was respectful to his spiritual master, the fire god, the guests, the elderly members of his household. He was free from false prestige. He was upright. He was benevolent with all living entities. He was well behaved. Once, this Brahmana Ajamila, following the order of his father, went to the forest to collect fruit, flowers, and two kinds of grass called Samit and Kusha. On the way home, he came upon a Shudra, a very lusty, fourth class, shameless man, embracing and kissing a prostitute. The Shudra was smiling and singing and enjoying as if this were proper behavior. Both the Shudra and the prostitute were drunk. The prostitute's eyes were rolling in intoxication, and her dress had become loose. Such was the condition in which Ajamila saw them. As far as possible, Ajamila patiently tried to remember the instructions of the Shastras, not even to see a woman. With the help of this knowledge and intellect, he tried to control his lusty desires. But because of the force of Cupid within his heart, he failed to control his mind. In the same way that the sun and moon are eclipsed by a low planet, this Brahmana Ajamila lost all his good sense. Taking advantage of this situation, he always thought of the prostitute, and within a short time, he took her as a servant in his house and abandoned all the regulative principles of the Brahmana. Thus, Ajamila spending whatever money he had inherited from his father to satisfy the prostitute in various ways, so that she would remain pleased with him. He gave up all his Brahmanical activities to satisfy the prostitute. Because his intelligence was pierced by the lustful glance of the prostitute, the victimized Brahmana Ajamila engaged in sinful activities in her association. He even gave up the company of his very beautiful, young, chaste wife, who came from a very respectable Brahmana family. Although born of a Brahmana family, this rascal, bereft of intelligence because of the prostitute's association, earned money some or other, regardless of whether properly or improperly, and used it to maintain the prostitute's sons and daughters. This Brahmana irresponsibly spent his long lifetime transgressing all the rules and regulations of the Holy Scripture, living extravagantly, eating food prepared by the prostitute. Therefore, he is full of sins. He is unclean. He is addicted to forbidden activities. Above all, this Ajamila has not undergone any atonement. Because of his sinful life, we must take him to Yamaraj for punishment. Therefore, according to the extent of his sinful acts, he will be punished and thus purified. So the Ajamila's case has been elaborately justified by the Yamadutas. Next, the Vishnudutas speak in response to what they have done and what the Yamadutas have explained. So Vishnudutas told the Yamadutas, alas, how painful it is that irreligion is being introduced into an assembly where religion should be maintained. Why are we saying this? Because Ajamila has already atoned for all his sinful actions. Hear this carefully. What are they saying? Ajamila has already atoned for all sinful actions. Indeed, he has atoned not only for sins performed in one life, this life, but for those performed in millions of lives. For in a helpless condition, he chanted the holy name of Narayana. Even though he did not chant purely, he chanted without offense. And therefore, he is now pure and eligible for liberation. Even previously, while eating and at other times, this Ajamila would call his son saying, "My dear Narayana, please come here." Although calling the name of his son, he nevertheless uttered the 4 syllables, Na, Ra, Ya, Na. Simply by chanting the name of Narayana in this way, he sufficiently atoned for the sinful reactions of millions of lives. The chanting of the holy name of Lord Vishnu is the best process of atonement for a thief of gold, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a Brahmana, or for one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders women, or one who murders the king, or his father, or for one who slaughters cows, and for all other types of sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of the Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, Lord Vishnu considers, my duty is to give him protection. Now hear this, what the Vishnu Dutas are telling. By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by simply chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service, unlike the chanting of the Lord's holy names, which reminds one of the Lord's fame, qualities, attributes, pastimes, and paraphernalia. The ritualistic ceremonies of atonement recommended in the religious scriptures are insufficient to cleanse the heart absolutely, because after atonement, one's mind again runs towards material activities. Consequently, for one who wants liberation from the fruitive reactions of material activities, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra or glorification of the name, fame, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord Hari is recommended as the most perfect process of atonement, because such chanting eradicates the dirt from one's heart completely. Now, they are justifying Ajamila's case. At the time of death, this Ajamila helplessly and very loudly chanted the holy name of the Lord Narayana. That chanting alone has freed him from the reactions of all sinful life. O servants of Yamaraj, do not try to take him to your master for punishment in hellish conditions. Then they say the glories of chanting the holy name. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from reactions of unlimited sins, even if his chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, even if he chants for musical entertainment, or even if he chants neglectfully. This is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures. If one chants the holy name of Lord Hari and then dies because of an accidental misfortune, such as falling from the top of a house, slipping, or suffering from broken bones while traveling on the road, being bitten by a serpent, being afflicted with pain and high fever, or being injured by a weapon, one is immediately absolved from having to enter hellish life, even though he might have been sinful. Authorities who are learned scholars and sages have carefully ascertained that one should atone for the heaviest sins by undergoing a heavy process of atonement. And one should atone for lighter sins by undergoing lighter atonement. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, however, vanquishes all the effects of sinful activities, regardless of whether they are heavy or light. Although one may neutralize the reactions of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows, and all other such methods, these pious activities cannot approve the material desires in one's heart. However, if one serves the lotus feet with personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contaminations. Now hear this. This is very important. As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Another example. If a person unaware of the effective potency of a certain medicine takes that medicine or is forced to take it, it will act even without his knowledge because its potency does not depend on the patient's understanding. Similarly, even though one does not know the value of chanting the holy name of the Lord, if one chants knowingly or unknowingly, the chanting will be very effective. So then Shukadeva Goswami continues to tell Parikshit Maharaj, having thus perfectly judged the principles of devotional service with reasoning and arguments, the order carriers of Lord Vishnu released the Brahmana Ajamila from the bondage of the Yamadutas and saved him from imminent death. I'll stop here. There's more. We'll discuss tomorrow. Any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you mentioned chanting offenselessly and chanting purely, though Ajamila
did not chant purely, but he chanted offenselessly.
Yeah. What's the difference between offenseless
chanting and pure chanting? Okay. When we begin chanting, we do not know anything what is called as offense. So, as we progress in chanting, we are informed there is a consideration of offenses while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Offense means it acts on the spiritual platform. Like to understand on the material platform, there is something called sin. Sinful activities and pious activities. Pious activities are called punya karma and sinful activities are called papa karma. So, those who are under the regulations and rules of this material nature, those are the three gunas, they should actually be careful not to commit sinful activities if they don't want suffering. So sinful activities give sinful reactions because of which one has to suffer due to sinful reactions. Whereas pious activities yield pious results and a person gets opportunity to enjoy materially. So sinful activities leads to suffering, material distress. Pious activities leads to enjoying material happiness. This is on the material platform. It's the common way people work and act. But whether one has to enjoy material happiness or suffer material distress, they are nevertheless bound to take birth again and again and again, either to enjoy or to suffer. So, pious activities and sinful activities are both binding us to this material world. So, they are the cause of material bondage. Whereas, one who performs devotional service is not subject to any reactions, either good or bad, pious or impious. So devotional service is not in the category of punya or papa. It's neither material pious activity nor is it material sinful activity. It is transcendental activity like chanting Hare Krishna and all the different activities of devotional service. So that is above the platform of the three gunas, above the material platform. It's on the spiritual platform. On the spiritual platform, however, there's a consideration that when one is engaged in devotional service, one should not offend the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, or Narayana or Hari. What is offending Krishna? For a devotee, when somebody is engaged in devotional service, if while doing devotional service or leading devotional life, if along with doing devotional service, which entitles the person to be freed from material bondage, to be not affected by any reactions. But if such a person blasphemes a devotee, criticizes a devotee, harms a devotee, then that is offending the Lord Himself. So such a action is not on the material platform, it's on the spiritual platform. On the material platform, somebody harms another person subject to sinful reaction. But that sinful reaction is a very simple thing. To the extent of the harm that is done, the person has to suffer. But offense is not like that. Offense is, there's no degree of offense. If I just scolded him, or I harmed him by violently beating him, or I just mentally thought ill about the person. So we can commit activities, material activities, through body, mind, through body, words and mind. So according to the laws of action and reaction, the material laws, if I commit a sin in the mind, means, example, I think ill of somebody, then there is punishment for that, but it is very, very, very small punishment. If I abuse a person with bad words, scold him, okay, then that is a sinful activity committed through words. Then the degree of punishment is higher. It is little more severe than the degree of punishment due to offending through the mind, committing a sin through the mind. The worst kind of sin one can commit is through the action, physical action. So I beat up somebody, or worse still, I kill somebody, then very severe punishment. So the punishment, the extent of punishment is dependent on the severity. But offense is not like that. If I offend Krishna, I can offend Krishna not necessarily by directly speaking ill about Krishna or thinking ill about Krishna. No, by offending his devotee. Or if I offend Krishna by blaspheming the Vedas, or I offend Krishna by misusing the uh, the scriptural injunctions, then that is the state of offense for which my spiritual advancement is blocked. My spiritual advancement is blocked. So I may be chanting Hare Krishna, but because I offended a devotee, or I am blaspheming the Vedas, or I am misusing the scriptural injunctions, so I am subject to this punishment that I can't make progress in spiritual life. So in the beginning of committing offenses, our progress is blocked. We stagnate. And we continue to be offensive, then we may lose devotional service. We fall down. Then we are back to our materialistic way of life. Then the actions and reactions, the three gunas, take over. Then I have to suffer sinful reactions for all the offensive activities which are committed based on whether it was through the body, through the words, through the mind, to what extent, punishment, all that is applicable. As long as I'm on the spiritual platform, material reactions don't touch me. But I can't remain on the spiritual platform if I commit offenses. So you see, spiritual consideration of offense is on the spiritual platform, consideration of sin is on the material platform. This is the first difference. So chanting, we begin with chanting, but we don't know what is offense. So we learn about offenses, and we are told that if you want to make spiritual progress, you should chant offenselessly. Try to avoid the offenses. Okay? So then, offense means Krishna takes offense for certain type of conduct you're supposed to maintain, but you don't maintain. Certain behavior, Vaishnava etiquette. We say Vaishnava etiquette. Okay? So Krishna takes offense. So we should avoid offenses. Now somebody is cognizant of what is offense and avoids offenses and practices devotional service in such a way that they come to the stage where they have become free from all offenses. They become humble, they become they control their mind, they control their senses, they seriously engage in devotional service, they stay in the association of devotees, they don't associate with materialistic persons, they're not interested in any material activities, they purified their heart so they don't have any material desires. So they come to the offenseless stage. So after coming to the offenseless stage, the further progress to come to the stage of pure chanting. Pure chanting is when we become offenseless and we continue to practice devotional service like chanting, etc. Then we awaken our dormant devotion to Krishna. And when that dormant devotion to Krishna is awakened, it takes some time. Then with that awakened devotion to Krishna we chant. That is the pure state of chanting. So offensive stage is like a neutral stage. Offensive stage is the ignorant stage. I don't know what is offenses. So I have no understanding of the connection between Krishna and his devotees, or Krishna and the Vedas, or Krishna and the laws that Krishna has given in this material world. I don't know the connection. I think as long as you don't offend Krishna, I'm fine. But yes, you don't offend Krishna, but you offend his devotee. You blaspheme the Vedas. You don't show proper respect to the demigods. who are devotees, all devotees of Krishna, then that is offending Krishna. So you now examine what are the 10 offenses against the holy name. First offense, to blaspheme devotees. Okay. Second offense is consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to the name of Vishnu. Vishnu is not another demigod. Vishnu is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So to equate the demigods or anybody with some power with Vishnu is offense to Vishnu. Vishnu is not on the material platform. Vishnu is not another jiva. Vishnu is not a conditioned soul. Vishnu is not a devata. He is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is playing the role of a devata. So to understand Vishnu's position is completely transcendental. And the position of everyone else who is born by the force of karma to be subordinate to Vishnu is proper understanding. Okay? So to equate the conditioned soul with Vishnu, or to consider Vishnu to be a conditioned soul, is an offense. Then the third offense. What is the third offense? To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Just disobeying the orders of the spiritual master is considered an offense to Vishnu. Yeah, because the spiritual master is so kind that he comes on behalf of Vishnu for Vishnu's purpose to this material world, and he preaches the message of pure devotional service, Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy name. And he risks his life to actually benefit these conditioned souls. He is completely dedicated for Krishna's purpose. And he feels pain by seeing others suffering. Paradukhe dukhi. This is a pure devotee's characteristic. Paradukhe dukhi. It's like Krishna. Even though he is self-satisfied in his abode, he is completely full in himself. He has got his pure devotees, his associates, eternally engaged in loving pastimes with them. He is always in transcendental, pure transcendental bliss. He and his devotees are enjoying. But Krishna is having some pain in his heart still. That is for the forgetful souls in this world, his own parts and parcels, his own children, his own sons or daughters. He is very much pained to see them suffer in this material world. So for their deliverance, he continuously is making so many arrangements. We chant the Prema Dvani. We glorify, first of all, our spiritual master. We glorify the previous acharyas. We glorify the river Ganga, the river Yamuna. We glorify Tulsi Maharani. We glorify the holy name. So these are all the hundreds and thousands and millions of arrangements of the Supreme Lord to somehow deliver the conditioned souls who are suffering. Simply by taking bath in the river Ganga, anyone, however sinful the person might be, gets completely purified of all sinful reactions. But taking bath in the Ganga does not purify the heart of the tendency to commit sins. Understand the difference carefully. The sinful tendency can be eradicated only by chanting Hare Krishna and purifying the heart of even the sinful tendency. So the difference between sin and sinful tendency. So definitely it is helpful to take bath in the Ganga. But provided after taking bath and becoming cleansed, like the elephant, we don't again dirty our heart by again committing sin. Therefore, the spiritual master makes his promise when he gives initiation, that so far we might have done whatever sinful activities. When we take initiation, they are completely nullified. Completely nullified. Henceforward, don't commit sins anymore. Therefore, we take vows to chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds every day when we take Diksha from Prabhupada. And then we also take vows to follow 4 regulative principles. 4 kinds of sinful activities we have to completely give up. From now on, don't commit these 4 sinful activities. So then, after having taken these vows, of course voluntary, it's not forced on anybody, understanding the kind of material miseries we are suffering in this material world, and we want complete relief, and bhakti is the best process, and spiritual master is teaching us a very effective and very powerful method of becoming free from all these miseries by taking to chanting Hare Krishna, following the 4 regulative principles. So we take these vows. After that, if we break the vows, either we don't chant Hare Krishna or we break the regulative principles, we get back to the simple life, then that is disobeying the order of the spiritual master. Then the spiritual master cannot save us. Krishna will not excuse us. You see? So therefore it is said is offensive means we cannot get the benefit of chanting Hare Krishna if we are sinful. Or we don't obey the orders of the spiritual master. So that's why it's considered offense, because then we cannot make advancement anymore. Therefore it is offense. And the 4th offense, blaspheming the Vedic literature. Vedic literatures are not different from Vishnu, Krishna. So it is directly blaspheming Krishna. Therefore we cannot make advancement. We blaspheme the Vedic literature. Then the 5th one, consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to imagination. Like it is said here by the Vishnu Dutas, somehow or the other, if one jokingly, even negligently, somehow chants the holy name, they are completely free from all sinful reactions. Completely free, 100%. Somebody thinks this is all sentimental devotees who are simply exaggerating. There was one such incident in the life of one follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was chanting every day 3 lakh names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And he was also preaching about this chanting. So while traveling, he came to one particular place, to a devotee's house. In that devotee's house, there was an assembly of Vedic scholars, and Haridas Thakur was also present in an assembly. And one learned Pandit was describing how difficult it is to get liberation from material bondage. And if after cultivating transcendental knowledge for millions of lifetimes, one may be fortunate to actually become liberated from material bondage. Then Haridas Thakur, he said, yes, that is true. The method of cultivating transcendental knowledge is a very, very difficult and slow process. But simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, even negligently, one can completely become free from millions of lifetimes of sinful activities. So then this scholar, this Vedic scholar, his name was, what is his name? Gopal Chakravarti. Gopal Chakravarti. So he was a young Brahmana. He was born in an aristocratic family. He had very beautiful bodily features and he was very learned, scholarly. So he told the assembly of persons there, look at this sentimental devotee. He's speaking some meaningless thing. How can somebody get liberation so easily simply by negligently chanting the holy name of this Lord? This, I don't believe this. This is simply exaggeration. So Haridas Thakur gave so many evidences from the scriptures for this. Like right now in the Bhagavatam, this evidence is there, about Ajamila. But this Brahmana could not be convinced. Then this Brahmana offered a challenge, this Gopal Chakravarti to Haridas Thakur. If what you say is not true, I'll cut off your nose. So then all the assembled people knew what this Haridas Thakur's position. He's a pure devotee. He's a great devotee. And he's very, very advanced in devotional service. What he's speaking is not incorrect, neither he is sentimentally speaking. So they all took objection to this Gopal Chakravarti's way of challenging Haridas Thakur. And they reprimanded him and sent him away from the assembly. Then they begged forgiveness from Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur said, I don't take any offense. After all, he is a foolish logician, addicted to logic and mundane reasoning. So he can't understand the transcendental nature of chanting Hare Krishna. Anyway, I don't take any offense. So Haridas Thakur did not take any offense. But the Supreme Lord will not tolerate this blasphemy of his devotee. So 3 days later, this Gopal Chakravarti got leprosy. And the first thing to fall off was his nose, the attack of leprosy. So you see, what is true is self-evident from the leprosy attack of this Gopal Chakravarti. So to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to imagination is an offense. It's a lot. Because it's a fact, it's a truth. It's not exaggeration. And the 6th offense, to give some mundane interpretation. Mundane interpretation means some material explanation for how Hare Krishna works. That people say, when you chant Hare Krishna, then there is some airflow, which is inhalation, and then there is a gap between Hare and Krishna, that is like holding the breath, and then when you are chanting the next word, you are exhaling. It's like pranayama. All this is bogus, totally bogus. Hare Krishna has nothing to do with our breathing. You can chant anyhow, rhythmically or without maintaining rhythm. Somehow you chant, as it says here. Anyhow you chant. The words are coming out of your mouth. You're vibrating your tongue and saying Hare Krishna. That's all. That's enough. It will free you from all sinful reactions. So one should not give any material interpretation. It is direct and straightforward explanation in the scriptures that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, by vibrating the tongue and producing the sound. Not silent meditation. Ajamila loudly chant. The 4 syllables came out of his mouth. Narayana. It's also important to know that Ajamila named his son as Narayana. But he did not, while calling him, he did not shorten his name. It happens in India that they give a nice name of God to a child, but if you call him, they shorten the name. Like my own grandfather, when he was small, his name was Narayana. So when he was small, he was called Nani. So I tell people, if you give a long name to your child, chances are that you will not call that child by that long name, which is name of God. So better give a short name, a two-syllable name, like Krishna, Rama, Hari, two-syllable. Don't give three-syllable, four-syllable, five-syllable names. So, the sixth offense is over. Seventh offense? To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting Hare Krishna. What is the meaning of this? Like when we chant Hare Krishna, it nullifies all sinful reactions. Okay. Does it mean that after we start chanting Hare Krishna, because when we start, before we were chanting Hare Krishna, we did not know what is sin and what is the effect of sin, etc. So knowingly or unknowingly, somehow we have committed sinful activities. But when we begin chanting Hare Krishna, and especially we come in the association of a pure devotee and take initiation, take a vow to chant, then we also take a vow not to commit sinful activities anymore. So then, if somebody reasons that even if I commit sins, anyway I'm chanting Hare Krishna, all the sinful reactions will be nullified. That's a fact. Chanting Hare Krishna anyhow, like it is described in this Ajamila episode in the Bhagavatam also. Some or other, if you chant the holy name, your sinful reactions are nullified. But it is not a mechanical process. It's not an impersonal process. How does it work? It is Krishna who actually nullifies the sinful reactions. It's Krishna who nullifies. So if I take undue advantage of this process of chanting Hare Krishna and I continue to commit sinful activities, then Krishna is not obliged to continue to purify me. I may be chanting and also engaging in sinful activities, but the chanting will no more be effective. Therefore, it says it's an offense. Offense means Krishna will not purify us. Krishna will not nullify us and purify us. It being fallen down from the spiritual platform to the material platform. Okay? That is the seventh offense. Then eighth offense. Consider Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities. What are ritualistic activities? Those activities by which we get some material benefit. The Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas. If you give some charity, then you're eligible for getting so much wealth multiplied so many times. If you do some other type of austerity, then you are eligible to go to heaven. Some other austerity, you get some nice children, you have a nice family, you can have nice reputation, you can have nice education, you can have beautiful body in your next life, etc., etc. There are so many different types of desires people can have, material desires for enjoying life in a pious way, and there are so many recommendations in the scriptures. There are many desires, different types of desires. But all of those are on the material platform. And all of them, they bind us to this material world. There's no possibility of liberation. So what is the meaning of material bondage? From Bhagavad Gita, material bondage means there are four fundamental miseries which everyone suffers, regardless of whether they are pious people or simple people. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Dukkha and Dosha, the defect and the distress of material existence, whether one is simple or pious, is that one has to suffer these four fundamental miseries regardless of whether they are in upper planets, they are in heavenly planets, wherever they are. Janma, birth, misery of birth. misery of death, mrityu, jara, misery of old age. Old age means invalidity due to old age. Then fourth one is disease. So these four fundamental miseries are there throughout the universe, everywhere. Therefore, material existence means these four fundamental miseries, and the only solution for these is to take to devotional service and get out of this material existence, where we don't have any more material body and we don't have to suffer consequent miseries. So, this chanting of Hare Krishna is not meant for any material benefits. It's not meant for material benefits. Because the result of chanting Hare Krishna is not to take birth in this material world again. Then where is question of material benefit? There's no meaning to that. So one should not mistakenly think, just like one can perform some pious activities or some rituals and get some material gain, same way Hare Krishna also can give you some material benefit. No. Hare Krishna gives us exclusively spiritual benefit of elevating us to the spiritual platform and liberating us from the material existence to prepare ourselves to go to the kingdom of God, to the spiritual world. Prabhupada says, let's go back home, back to Godhead. For eternal life, full of bliss and knowledge. So, Hare Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna is not a material pious activity, not like a material pious activity. There's a verse in the scriptures, the Prabhupada quotes, I will read that verse, which says, what is the difference between chanting Hare Krishna and performing some material pious activity? This verse says, Gopoti Danam Grahane Khagasya Prayaga Gangodaka Kalpa Vasaha Yajnayutam Meru Suvarna Danam Govinda Kirte Na Samam Shatam Shanihi. The meaning of this is, even if one distributes 10 million cows in charity during an eclipse of the sun, or even if one lives at the confluence of the Ganges in Yamuna, it's Prayag, for millions of years, or even if one gives a mountain of gold in sacrifice to the Brahmanas, he does not earn 1/100th part of the merit derived from chanting Hare Krishna once. So you see the difference? Tons and tons of punya cannot equal even a small fraction of the benefit derived from chanting Hare Krishna once. So how can we compare? Therefore it is said it's an offense to compare chanting Hare Krishna with any ritualistic pious activities. That's the 8th offense. 9th offense? What's the 9th offense? To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Now, people in this world are generally faithless. So doesn't mean we don't preach to anybody about chanting Hare Krishna. Those are all faithless. Glories. There's a difference between telling people to chant Hare Krishna and instead of just telling them to chant Hare Krishna, if we tell the glories, it's like we are hearing the glories of chanting Hare Krishna in this Ajamila pastime. It comes in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam. It's not even in the Bhagavad Gita, it's in the Bhagavad. The Bhagavatam also not in the 1st canto, not in the 2nd canto, it's the 6th canto. So, this glories of chanting Hare Krishna is very confidential. So for a beginner who doesn't have faith in devotional service or chanting Hare Krishna, we should not tell such a person about the glories of the holy name. What happens if we tell? Because the person is faithless, like the Gopal Chakravarti, he accused Haridas Thakur of being sentimental. So similarly, faithless people will think if we tell them the glories, oh, you are a sentimental devotee. You are not very reasonable or rational or logical. So they blaspheme devotees. Then even if we somehow make him chant Hare Krishna, he is not going to get any benefit of chanting Hare Krishna. And having blasphemed a devotee, he will be distancing himself more from Krishna. Already we are forgetful of Krishna. People in this world are forgetful of Krishna. So there is no point in doing something which will distance them further from Krishna. Rather we try to bring them closer to Krishna. Therefore it is said, don't preach the glories of the holy name to faithless people. You just tell them to chant Hare Krishna, that's all. It'll look good to you. Whatever you are looking for, you can get simply by chanting Hare Krishna. It'll look good to you. Whatever be the distress, yes, you will become free from all distresses. Whatever your desires may be, all desires are fulfilled by chanting Hare Krishna. So somehow make them chant Hare Krishna. But don't tell them in the beginning the glories. As they keep chanting, then we keep revealing to them little more about what is this chanting and what are the higher benefits of chanting, etc. What is the 10th offense, the last offense? Do not have complete faith in chanting the holy name. See, we begin from the faithless stage. The process of bhakti is the process of development of our faith. This faith is not some kind of belief system. Like people say, no, I believe in God. Somebody says, I believe in so and so, whatever. So this believing is different, faith is different. What's the difference? For faith, there is a definition in our scriptures. Shraddha, the word Shraddha in Sanskrit. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nishchaya. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Kritahar. It means that Shraddha means, faith means unflinching trust in devotional service. Which means that simply by executing devotional service to Krishna, pure devotional service to Krishna, all my activities will become perfect. Sarva karma krita. Krishna bhakti kaile. Simply by executing pure devotional service to Krishna, my life will be perfect. All my actions will be perfect. All my endeavors will be perfect. This unflinching trust is called Shraddha. Because all we need to do is simply to chant Hare Krishna with faith, with this understanding, with this trust, that is enough. Nothing else needs to be done. Only then we are successful in spiritual life. Until we develop that faith, our faith is lacking, we are not able to make the advancement to prepare ourselves to get out of this material existence and go back to God. Somehow we remain in this material world because we retain some material desires, thinking that our existence is dependent on certain minimum needs in this world. We have a material conception, no? We think because of this body only we are able to live. Otherwise we don't think we can live without this body. Even though we are pure spirit, as spirit we have nothing to do with this body. Falsely we have accepted this body, and not only accepted the body, I think I am this body, or this body is the source of all my pleasures, all my happiness, all my existence is based on the body. It's completely under illusion. Completely under illusion. We are accepting this kind of false presentation of the illusory energy. So to get out of this illusion is to develop the faith, the Shraddha. And the Shraddha develops when you associate with pure devotee and his representatives, his followers, sincere followers. And then you develop your Shraddha by association, developed by association. So therefore, devotional service should always be practiced in the association of devotees, serious, sincere devotees, under the guidance of an expert, pure devotee, spiritual master. Only then can we develop our Shraddha. And then when our Shraddha is perfected, complete, 100%, then we are immediately liberated, simply by saying Hare Krishna once. One time Hare Krishna is enough, but it has to be chanted with 100% faith. To not have complete faith is also an offense. Even though I may not have come to the stage of pure chanting, but I should chant with faith that it's going to work. Chanting purifies me. And the more I become purified, more my Shraddha will increase. My faith will increase. My faith will strengthen. Then my chanting becomes even more effective. One thing about spiritual life you should all remember, that when we begin chanting Hare Krishna, when we begin devotional service, let's say 1 year we practice, how much advancement we make, if we say we make 5% advancement. Then the next 1 year, the second year, the same effort is not going to lead to another 5% increase or advancement. No. It is going to be multiplied. Your advancement is multiplied. Why? Because after the first year, you're chanting with more purity than you were chanting with in the first year. So your chanting becomes more effective. Your advancement is faster. So don't think that little by little I'll make progress and after a very long time I'm going to become perfect. No. Devotional service doesn't work like that. Therefore, Prabhupada says, one lifetime is enough. One lifetime is enough. And it's the only process. When Parikshit Maharaj is cursed to die within 7 days, being a very intelligent king, he decided to retire, gave up his kingdom. Handed over the charge of ruling the kingdom to his son, eldest son. And then he came to a holy place and he started associating with saintly persons in that holy place and asking them, what should I do next 7 days to perfect my life? So they said 7 days is very less time. Because none of them were pure devotees. They were not pure devotees. They did not know about pure devotional service. So they were all talking of different other processes, karma, jnana, yoga, etc. They said 7 days is not enough time to perfect oneself. Then Shukadeva Goswami walks into that assembly and he's recognized as the greatest transcendentalist of his time. So then Parikshit Maharaj asks the same question to Shukadeva Goswami. What should I do next 7 days? Perfect my life. Is 7 days enough time? Because it appeared like none of them were able to say 7 days is enough. No. So Shukadeva Goswami gave assurance first of all to Parikshit Maharaj. 1 moment is enough. If you execute pure devotional service, 1 moment is enough to achieve highest perfection, complete perfection. And he gives an example of one Khatwanga Rishi. Khatwanga Rishi, he had 1 muhurta time. 1 muhurta, according to the calculation on time on the earth, is 48 minutes. Before 48 minutes, he got notice of his death. And because he had already practiced devotional service, he simply retired from all his other activities and engaged in complete devotional service, and he perfected himself and went back to God. Very short time. So then, Shukadeva Goswami says, by this you can understand 7 days is a lot of time. So you simply sit and hear the glorification of Krishna. And he spoke the Bhagavatam. Parikshit sat and heard. And then, end of 7 days, Shukadeva Goswami asked him, now is all your doubts are clear? The questions have been answered? No further questions or doubts? No. Then he walked away. Parikshit Maharaj sat, fixed his mind on Krishna, exactly as he had heard the descriptions, the glories of Krishna from Shukadeva Goswami, and simply wrapped in meditation on Krishna, he quit his body. Went back straight to God. So that's possible for anyone, everyone, not just for Parikshit Maharaj or Khatwanga Rishi. Shukadeva Goswami says, simply by chanting Hare Krishna and becoming completely absorbed in the holy name, which is the form of Krishna, the sound incarnation of Krishna, the sound form of Krishna. That's why we have to hear attentively. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
So Maharaj, I have a few questions and few difficulties. So you mentioned that sin is on the material platform.
And offenses on the spiritual platform.
So by being cognizant of the fact that there are offenses against holy name, and if somebody is committing the offenses, you said he will fall down to material things.
If he continues
Material.
repeatedly,
Yeah. And the sinful reactions will take over, like Krishna will not protect. So it's just, I mean, it looks like if somebody is ignorant,
hopeless, yes.
if somebody is, he is,
Offensive, then he has no chance at all. That's why it is very serious to commit offenses. Don't you know why? It's a very serious mistake, not a small mistake. It's a very serious mistake. It's very dangerous.
what if somebody doesn't know about offenses and he's just chanting? Like-
Yeah, ignorance is actually not the cause of fall down. Cannot be the cause of fall down. Because Krishna is seated as Paramatma in the heart of everyone, he arranges for a sincere soul to be enlightened, to be guided. If the soul is sincere, the person is sincere, seeking. But if he is absorbed in material enjoyment and he doesn't want anything to do with spiritual life, Krishna will not intervene. So that the person continues to make existence. It is Krishna as Paramatma who is active in each person's life in this material world. So he knows what are our desires, what are our intentions, what we are seeking. He knows everything. So we cannot make an external show and cheat Krishna. We may cheat some innocent people, but we cannot cheat Krishna.
So Maharaj, these offenses are only limited to just 10 offenses against holy
For
name.
holy name, chanting holy name. But for doing devotional service like deity worship, 64 offenses. Yes, deity worship, consideration 64 offenses. So that's why chanting of the holy name is easy and it is, less chances of committing offenses. That's why we are advised to chant the holy name primarily. And if we do deity worship, it is to support the chanting, to strengthen the chanting. Because we don't have taste for chanting the holy name, we can't do chanting of the holy name all the time. We require varieties of activities. So there's variety, 64 different principles of sadhana bhakti. different ways of engaging our body, our mind, and our words in action, in activities, different activities. So in the Nectar of Devotion, it's explained what are the 64 different items of sadhana bhakti. It begins with chanting Hare Krishna, but then there are so many other activities we can perform for variety, for engaging all our senses. We got so many senses, 10 senses. So to engage all of them is very important. Otherwise, if you don't engage them in devotional service, they'll anyway be engaged in material activities. They cannot be inactive. Living soul means always active. Active through senses, body means senses, mind and words. So therefore, Krishna gives us engagement for all our senses. With the eyes you see the beautiful form of the Lord. With the ears you hear the glorification of the Lord. You hear nice singing of Hare Krishna, you hear chanting of Hare Krishna, the sound of the holy name. With the nose you smell all fragrances. Nice fragrant flowers offered to Krishna, nice fragrant incense offered to Krishna. With the tongue you taste Krishna Prasad. With the tongue you also vibrate and chant the holy name. With a sense of touch, what do you do with a sense of touch? How do you engage in devotional service? What did Ambrish Maharaj do? Embrace devotees. Engage a sense of touch in embracing devotees. Then, the hands, the legs, the voice, the mind. Mind always in thinking of Krishna, remembering his pastimes. So like this, if you engage all your senses, your mind, everything in Krishna's service, then you completely are purified of all material desires. Of course, you must be ready to give up your material desires. You cannot hold on to them and then expect that some miracle will happen. No. Krishna will enlighten you from within that the material desire is the cause of your bondage, cause of your suffering. So you have to give it up. Then Krishna will not force you to give up until you voluntarily pray to Krishna, please get me, free me from this material desire. So that is actually the renunciation that is required. Otherwise, nothing belongs to us. What is the meaning in renunciation? Nothing belongs to us. What do we renounce? So it is material desires we have to renounce. That is ours. Material desires is ours, not Krishna's. Nobody else's. Material desires is ours. So therefore, the material desires, we have to understand, are the very cause of our material bondage, material existence. So purification of these material desires. So spiritualize yourself. We cannot be desireless. As living entities, we have to have desires. But cultivate spiritual desires. Desire to chant Hare Krishna more and more. Desire to engage in more and more devotional service. Desire to hear more and more the glories of Krishna. Like this. Spiritual desires. And spiritual desires are the cause of replacing all material desires, spiritual desires. That's the formula for success in spiritual life. Any further questions?
One question, Maharaj. What you read the portions today, there was one mention that Ajamila, when he was chanting his name, Narayana, you come here and all, he got completely purified from his sinful reactions, and the Lord thought, let me protect him at the time of death. So, what is this?
No, that is, he was not chanting, thinking that I'll become purified.
Right.
So he was not committing the seventh offense.
Right. But he was calling his son.
He was calling his son. He was nevertheless chanting the holy name.
Correct.
Holy name acts regardless of whether one knowingly or unknowingly chants. But not intentionally sinning. That is the point. He was sinful. He was still sinning. Till his death came, he was sinning. But he was free from the offense of. He helplessly called out.
So if somebody.
So what's the question?
Question is, so how do you explain somebody that you have to chant continuously? Because in the case of Narayana, he chanted a few times. I mean, not few times, but he chanted Narayana, come here and all, and by that.
Narayana. Every time chanting the name of Narayana.
So
By
and
way
what
of
is
call
the
Krishna.
significance?
Repeated.
So the question, Maharaj, is if somebody just names his son Narayana and doesn't chant Hare Krishna, or how do you tell somebody that you have to chant Hare Krishna mantra?
So why Hare Krishna and why not any other name of God? Actually, all the names of God have got equal potency. They all work. As far as the power of holy name is concerned, equal. All the names of God. Krishna, Rama, Narasimha, all. But the difference is that Kali Santana Upanishad says, Iti Shodashakam Nam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nam Shambham. The Hare Krishna mantra, particularly mentioned in the Kali Santana Upanishad, in the form of the 16 words, 32 syllables. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is the only means to counteract the evil influence of Kali Yuga, Kali Kalmasha it's called. What is the evil influence of Kali Yuga? Kali has taken shelter of these four sinful activities: meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and the sixth sense. This is explained in the first canto of Bhagavatam. And therefore, somebody who indulges in these four sinful activities is subject to influence of Kali, becomes a victim of Kali. And Kali's business is to actually, Kali is called the friend of irreligion, Adharma Bandhu. Kali is Adharma Bandhu. So simply by indulging in one or more of these kind of sinful activities is the residence of Kali. One becomes irreligious. Means one sin leads to many other sins, and eventually person becomes completely sinful. It's dangerous, it's very dangerous. That somebody may commit one sin, that may not be so harmful. But if sin leads to more sin, it's a multiplied effect. That is the danger. Because Kali is Adharma Bandhu, friend of irreligion. So a person becomes totally irreligious by influence of Kali. So therefore, even though there are many types of sin we can commit, we are particularly told don't do these four sinful activities to begin with. And as you chant Hare Krishna, not only you refrain from these four sins, but also all other subsidiary sins, lesser sins, all other sins also you will completely be able to give up. It's not that we have taken a vow not to commit these four sinful activities, so I can lie, I can do so many other sins. No, that's not the idea. Idea is to become sinless. Yesham tu antagatam papam janana punya karmana. Te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridavrata. 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, one who becomes free from all sinful activities, antagatam papam, all sinful activities, and engages in devotional service exclusively. Such a person actually becomes completely free from dvandva and moha, two characteristics of material existence. Dvandva, duality. Material existence is characterized by pleasure and pain, hot and cold, summer and winter, good and bad, but all relative, simply relative. It is not absolute. So, to get out of this duality of this material existence, and also moha, illusory, everything is a product of the illusory energy. Illusory energy consists of the three modes, gunas. These gunas interact and produce some kind of effect. Like this table appears to be like a table, but what it is made of? It is made of 5 elements. And those 5 elements are simply an effect of the material energy on, the modes on the material energy. It's just like you watch a screen, television screen. On the television screen, I can show you a nice rasgulla. I can show you anything. And you even mouth your water by looking at the rasgulla. But there's no rasgulla there. There's no gulab jamun. It's just a light effect. That's all. So everything in the material world is simply an effect of the 3 gunas interaction. Exactly like there are 3 primary colors, and there's so many shades of color, and some pattern of colors looks like a man, something that looks like a gulab jamun. It's simply color, that's all what it is. Similarly, all the objects that we see, they are simply combination of the 5 elements. And even though elements themselves are a product of the material energy being acted upon by the gunas. Ultimately, when destruction happens, what happens? All the objects are destroyed, means the elements get separated. When the combined elements combined, there are varieties of products. Like earth, we have stone, we have metal, stones are so many varieties of stones. We have clay, we have red earth. But that red earth somebody takes, somebody makes a brick, somebody makes a pot, somebody makes something else. So many products. But ultimately, everything is simply matter, material energy. But that material energy appears so very attractive and so very, enjoyable. But the substance is nothing, there's no substance really. Spirit is not like that. Spirit is not an effect. Spirit is not some effect. Spirit is real. Spirit is substantial, eternal, unchanging, the truth. So matter and spirit, this difference, that's what second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is so important. Krishna described the difference between matter and spirit. Try to understand that in a sober way. And here the explanation of Krishna particularly. The characteristics of spirit are so wonderful. That's what we are. Deathless, unchanging, always blissful, Satchidananda, eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. That's our nature. So we don't have to seek happiness. What does the materialism become? Always seeking happiness, seeking knowledge. So that is a false existence, because we are eternal. We are full of bliss, we are full of knowledge. Just that knowledge is covered. Knowledge is covered. Anything else? Yes. How much time do we have? Till 9 o'clock. Okay. Another 10 minutes. Okay.
Yes, I remember who was asking the question about chanting Narayana. You said that he did not think that he will become purified that way. That is why it was almost like.
He was not chanting on the strength of sinning. Sorry, he was not sinning on the strength of chanting and purifying the reactions. He was not misusing the facility.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yeah, in connection to the question what Prabhu asked, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says like while dying, if they remember only him,
Then they will go back to God.
yeah. And in this case, Ajamila, though he is calling the name of God, but his state of mind is attached to
So he
his.
did not go back to God yet. After he is free. That I'll explain tomorrow. What happened to Ajamila after he was free? That's a very important question. So that's explained.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Every time we are hearing the liberation of Parikshit, but what about the liberation of Pandava?
Pandavas. That's described in Bhagavatam in the first canto. The Pandavas, they are pure devotees. So they are participating in Krishna Leela. When Yudhishthira heard, after the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna installed him as the emperor of the world. And then he was ruling very nicely according to religious principles. And everybody was happy. But when he learned Krishna has gone back to Godhead, his personal abode, he said, I have no interest in living here. So he retired. He handed over charge of going to Parikshit. And he decided to prepare for quitting the body. What is the preparation they did? Mahaprasthana. They started walking towards the Himalayas. So Hastinapura started walking to the Himalayas. So walking till there's life in the body. And doing what? All the while simply remembering Krishna, thinking of Krishna. So in Krishna consciousness, this quit the body. And they all went back to Godhead.
Thank you.
That's described in Bhagavatam, first canto. They're already liberated. As pure devotees, they're already liberated. They just came and they went back to God. They come from the spiritual world. Pure devotees come from the spiritual world. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, there is one question from a devotee online.
Okay.
They're asking that often knowingly or unknowingly our service is contaminated by false ego. Then how do we progress towards pure devotional service and how can we get over this?
That the chanting itself purifies us. By your chanting, anybody chants, it purifies their heart. Without the separate endeavor. Chanting itself is a purifying process. There's no need to separately work for purification. Any other question?
I have one.
No question. Yes.
So, what is the reason behind quitting the onion and garlic?
Why no onion garlic? Good question.
Sorry to.
No, it's not wrong. It's a very valid question. Onion garlic is vegetarian, it's not non-vegetarian. It's a plant crop. Okay, it's a plant. But onion garlic is in the mode of ignorance. Tamoguna. It's like grape juice. Grape juice is sattvic when it's fresh. When it's fermented, it becomes wine. That is tamasic. Okay. So, even plant-based foods, if they're not sattvic, you don't take them. Mushrooms, they are in the mode of ignorance. They are plants, but they are in the mode of ignorance. So we don't take them. Like that. Any other question?
What is the special significance of chanting
Let's take Mata's question. Yes.
What should be the best physical position to chant, like in front of DP, standing, walking, dancing?
Whichever position or whichever condition, situation you're able to nicely chant and hear without distraction. The greatest difficulty for chanting properly is that our mind gets distracted from engaging in exclusively chanting with full attention, hearing and counting. Three things we have to do. Japa means chanting, hearing, counting. And we have to fully absorb our consciousness, our attention in that activity exclusively. Set aside all other activities. And not only chanting, actually, that's the way of working most efficiently. Whatever activity you do, give your full attention and do it. You become very, very efficient, you do it very fast, you will not make any mistakes, you'll be perfect. But we have a habit of doing something and at the same time giving a part of the attention for that work that we're doing and some more other part of the attention for something else, planning something, thinking something, remembering something, calculating something. So this habit is to be changed, broken. It's an old habit. It's a very strong habit. Everybody does that naturally, very easily. Because material activities don't require your full attention. Supposing I'm meant to clean this table every day in the morning. First time I'm asked to clean, I may give a lot of attention for doing it. But as I do it every day, it doesn't require much attention at all. Very little attention is required. What will I do with reminder of the attention? I'll be thinking of something, I'll be planning something, I'll be calculating something, I'll be remembering something. So that we do even while chanting. Because chanting, what is it chanting? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Actually just simply vibrate and move the beats without attention to detail of what is Hare Krishna. We have to hear the sound. It's Krishna himself in the form of the sound. Without all that knowledge, merely just simply say Hare Krishna, yeah, I can say. Say so many times, yes, I can do that. But where is the attention? Because Hare Krishna chanting not only has to purify our tongue, our ears, our senses, it also purifies the mind. So unless the mind is engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, the mind will not get purified. Then we ourselves has to be purified, material contamination. So we ourselves has to absorb ourselves. That is our consciousness. Our consciousness to become purified. Right now, our consciousness is contaminated by material contamination. Material desires, material conceptions, material plans. So many material things we have as spirit, soul, material conceptions. So all that has to be completely cleared away. And as we hear the Bhagavatam, as we hear the scriptures, the spiritual understanding, the correct understanding of who is God, who am I, what is this world, what is truth, what is reality, difference between matter and spirit, what is material desire, what is spiritual desire, all this we have to understand. And purify the misconceptions, clear the misconceptions. We think we belong to this world. Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures say, you don't belong to this world, you belong to Krishna's abode. We think we are the body. Krishna says, no, you're not the body, you're spirit soul. We think we can enjoy materially. Krishna says, you can't enjoy materially. Your enjoyment is spiritual. So that's all explained in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita gives the principles. Bhagavatam gives the examples, the lives of devotees. You see? Those are actual application of the principles of the Gita in the Bhagavatam. The life of great devotees. In the pastimes of the Lord himself, the application of the principles of the Gita is there. So you study both Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, my devotees constantly chant my name. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Yajnanam japa yajnosmi. Japa yajna means chanting the Hare Krishna form japa. That is yajna. Now, Ajamila actually did that. So what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, the example of Ajamila is there in the Bhagavatam. What happens if one chants Hare Krishna? Japa yajna, to do japa yajna, what happens? Ajamila's life is a good example. Okay? We'll stop here. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.